how's the book coming along? We'll just get into it. How's the book? Do you know how the book? It's not your book, but it's a book about you.
Yeah, well, yes, it's my biography, but it was written by Don Breithaupt, uh, and he interviewed me for it because I'm dyslexic and I would never be able to write it myself.
And what
Right.
was this? Was this project? Did you lead this? Did you find Don, or did they approach you and say, "Hey, why don't you
They
write a
approached
book?"
me, and I got in touch with Don, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
What? Tell me about the process. Is it just him sitting? Like, are you just sitting down with him
Well,
and
I've known Don for a long
okay,
time. So he
oh
did, and he did the Steely Dan stuff.
yeah,
He's a great writer, and he knows me well, and we've even played together.
okay,
So it was easy peasy. So we just spent hours and hours and hours, and he kind of interviewed me,
yeah.
and
Did
then I told him about my life.
I'm wondering if there's anything that came up that because of the questions and the probing and the exercise that you had totally forgotten that sort of came back in your conversations.
Well, I mean, I revisited, my time in LA, which I don't really think about that often. I mean, I've been back in Canada for quite a while
Yeah.
since, the mid-90s. But you know, it's always interesting the older you get to look back on your life, and you get to revisit the functional part of it and the
Yeah.
dysfunctional part. And when you're young, you think everything's cool.
Yeah.
You look back, you, it's through the lens of time. You can see the mistakes you made. You can see the mistakes you didn't make, the things you dodged, the things you didn't dodge. You know what I'm saying? It's interesting. As you draw back, it's like parallax. It's like you can see certain things in focus that maybe you didn't see in focus before that.
What's one mistake that well yeah, what's one mistake that you keep kicking yourself about or one or not even kicking yourself. You're probably at the stage where it's like, yeah, whatever. It was a mistake, but no big deal.
Well, what a mistake. I got into drugs and alcohol like everybody else in those days,
Okay.
but I wasn't very good at handling it.
Ah,
So I probably shouldn't have done it, but I
yeah.
did it anyway. And some of that was because I felt, I grew up thinking I was less than.
Mm,
And I, because when was in school,
yeah.
they didn't know what dyslexia was.
Okay.
So I was just the dumb guy.
Yeah.
And that it colors, I mentioned this in the book. In grade 3, I was streamed into the dummy side of the class. I knew I wasn't dumb.
Hmm.
I was pretty smart,
Yeah.
but nevertheless, I was put there, and it fucks with you.
Hmm.
You're not aware of it at the time, but it eats away at your self image and your self respect and your sense of worth, and so that is I explore that in the book, but as I have become to see dyslexia for what it was my superpower.
Tell me about that.
Well, I learned to see things in a different way. I learned to visualize things. If I have to visualize everything. So I learned to read people by
Hmm.
looking. I learn more from walking down the street. I get more ideas walking down the street in Toronto for songs than I would reading Tolstoy. So you just your orientation to the world is
Interesting.
different than most people.
I'm wondering, Mark, with what you've learned about yourself and how you've navigated the music industry. Like, how do you? Because your son is a musician, and your son has joined you on
Yeah.
stage. How do you sort of let him do his own thing, or does he come to you and ask you, like, "Hey, how did you handle this?" Do you talk to him, give him advice? How does that come together?
I've talked to him.
Yeah.
You know, we've grown up. He's grown up with me, but he doesn't ask me for advice.
Mhm.
And I can't give him advice because it's a different world right now
Yeah.
than when I was in it, you know. It was an analog world. And
Yeah. Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. There's different demons now.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And there were problems then too.
Sure.
But and my father was a singer, and
Hmm.
he he had no idea what I did either. You know what I'm saying? Like it's generational.
Yeah.
So I stay out of Ezra's way, and I give him only what he asks for. You know, I don't try to.
You don't
He
want to be
does
the preacher. Yeah.
no, not at
Yeah.
all.
I get it. Uh,
The only thing that I always say is you just have to just be true to what you believe in your art form. You know, you
yeah.
can't
That's
go
so.
chasing what you think other
Hmm.
people want. It has to be authentic.
That's great advice for sure. Uh, Mark, Greg, and myself are working on a book project. And one of the places that you have played in, and I think from what I've researched, you played in quite often was the Gasworks.
Yeah.
And that's one of the little smile on your face there. We're we're writing a book that includes the Gasworks. I'm wondering, Mark, are there any stories you can tell us of the Gasworks and you as a musician in it?
Well, I have to think, but there that was very early on. I started out playing the matinees there as a
Okay,
folk singer, right?
all right,
And I was just out of, just starting my journey. And I remember just being scared to death, and watching the air come out of my mouth, blowing the smoke that was in the spotlights, and just thinking, this is the best and the worst, I would just petrify. But that was, I got over that. And that
yeah,
was beginning. That was one of the first big places I played.
yeah,
And then, I went on and on, played clubs like that. And then when I put a good band together, I played, the El Macombo.
nice, yeah, and that's gone through changes itself for sure.
Terrible.
Um, Yeah. So tell me about that. What are your thoughts on it right now?
Wow. I don't know what he was trying to do. He spent millions and millions of dollars on it. What is it?
Yeah. It's just a facility, I think,
For what?
for anything. But you're right. Like it's not. I understand where you're coming from. It's not
Not
it's
a
not a venue
music thing.
anymore. No, it's not,
I
is it?
mean, that I remember running into that guy, and I guess he knew who I was. He started talking to me and he told me what he was doing. And I thought, then he said, "Oh, it's going to be the best music venue in the city, and we're going to be able to record. People are going to come in there. We're going to record live shows." And I don't think so.
Huh. Yeah.
Yeah, he had no idea.
Do you, Mark, to get back to Gasworks just a little bit, what kind of a place was it specifically? Yeah. And what kind of where did it rank in Toronto? What was so important or interesting about the Gasworks in the Toronto music
Well,
scene?
it was really number one there for a while.
Yeah.
The whole the Yonge Street strip,
Yeah.
Bloor Street to King Street, used to fucking rock out.
Yeah.
There was music everywhere. And the Gasworks was one of the last big venues to open on that
Hmm.
strip, you know. And big bands used to play there. I mean, really good bands. And the sound was pretty damn good. And as I remember, not that I knew much, but it always sounded good to me. And there were some very, very, very good bands that played there. And the doors, they would leave the doors open and you could hear it on the street.
What was it, Mark, about, you talked about on Yonge Street, all these different clubs and the music scene. Like what was it about that time when these places could open and thrive?
Toronto was very small.
Hmm.
Yonge Street was the center of Toronto. It ran down the middle of Toronto. And
Yeah.
there was West Toronto and there was East Toronto.
Hmm.
But Yonge Street was the middle of it. And that's where the clubs were.
Yeah.
And because it was easily accessible for people who live in the West End and the East End and the North and the South, Yonge Street was the middle. So, you know, before I was able to get in to these clubs, when I was in high school, my buddy and I used to go down. I remember in the winter on the weekends walking down with my buddy.
Hmm.
I can't even remember his name now. He was he played he played guitar. I can't remember his name. But we were in about grade 10 or 11, Jack. And I remember one cold night walking by a cock door, I think it was. And that was Ronnie Hawkins that night. I had hearing Ronnie Hawkins for the first time.
Uh-huh.
I I remember hearing David Clayton Thomas
Wow.
for the first time. I had no idea who he was, but the doors were open and you could hear these bands, and it was like walking down a midnight where you could pick and choose who you wanted to listen to if you were old enough to get in, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We weren't, so we had to stay on the sidewalk. But I'll never forget David Clayton's voice. Never forgot it, because he was remarkable,
Yeah.
remarkable.
What are your what are your thoughts of the music scene in Toronto today?
Um, well, there's certainly a scene.
Okay.
It's just different. You know, when I it's all different because when I was coming up, there were companies that made money from signing guys like me because guys like me could sell pieces of plastic for them.
All right. Yeah.
And so record companies would open and they would hire A&R guys, and the
Yeah.
A&R guys would go down to the clubs. And some of them knew what they were talking about, some of them didn't, but they just looked and they looked where the lineups were. And that's where they went, you know. So they signed guys that were packing them in to the clubs. And that's how I got signed, you know,
Sure.
because I they were lined up.
Um, I want to go back to the book. Um, I want to preface it with this. I remember going to see a documentary on Neil Young at TIFF one year,
Mhm.
and I think Jonathan Demme had made the movie, and somebody in the crowd had asked him about there's some guy had made a museum in his house to Neil Young, had all this stuff. And Neil said, I'm still alive. It's kind of weird that some guy's got a museum when I'm still around making music and doing things and so on and so forth. So, with that in mind, Mark, how was it, having this biography written about you while, you're still kicking, you're still doing stuff, right?
Absolutely. Um, I enjoyed doing it. You know,
Yeah,
I think Don Breithaupt is a terrific writer and he's a good friend and wonderful musician. And so I actually really enjoyed it. And it's nice for my kids, you know.
yeah,
I haven't really talked about my early days much to them, you know. And and it was actually cathartic for me in some ways too.
nice, nice. Who picked the cover photo?
My wife.
When I looked at it, I go, shit, that's a movie star right there. um, if there's one thing that you want people to know about you after reading the book, what would it be?
That I never thought about the market.
Hmm,
I only thought about the songs. And my my computation there was if it meant something to me, it's got to mean something to somebody else.
fair enough.
My publishers in at Warner Brothers in LA were very smart when they signed me.
Hmm.
They knew that I couldn't write for people.
Oh,
Most, most of the guys, and the girls that they signed could write. You know, if Bonnie Raitt needed a song, they'd say Bonnie needs a song, and five of them would get working on a Bonnie Raitt song. But they were smart enough. Judy Stakey was the one. She figured me out real quick. She knew she couldn't do that with me. So she just allowed me to write songs. And
Hmm.
it was a wonderful gift.
That's amazing. The book is Rhythm of My Heart, the authorized biography of Marc Jordan. My guest has been Marc Jordan. You can buy the book from your favorite local bookstore
Well, it's online. It's
or
online
online.
right now. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, you can go
But
to
it's too soon yet. It'll be
Amazon,
very soon, but it's online Amazon. Yeah,
Amazon.ca, and just search Rhythm of My Heart and Marc Jordan. Marc, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
my pleasure. Good to see you.